This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes, for your half-assed entertainment news with no bullshit, with our hosts, the Baroness and Bear Fiorda, only on Talk 4 Me.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, the Baroness. We are on with my co-host. I'd say the only man that needed to change his shirt 30 seconds before the show because he sweated through it.
Yeah.
Bear Fiorda.
I am very grateful that I caught that before I came on. It was like
I was literally powdering you on camera. What do you mean you caught it?
Well, I saw it in the pits, not the face. The face I thought was pretty dry. Less so parts I didn't pay attention to.
You are a class act. You really among men. Among men. You're a class act among men.
I'm a god among chickens. No? That's my manager in the background shooting that shot down pretty fast. Thanks for the confidence boost.
So we've had a lot going on in Hollywood this month.
Yeah, what
So
happened?
I'm going to do a quick wrap up. Let's see. Hulk Hogan died. Malcolm Jamal Warner died. Ozzy Osbourne died.
It's been a bad month.
I actually asked ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Because I usually have ChatGPT give me the wrap up of what we should discuss that month.
Fair enough.
And I have like a list of 20 people that died. It's really bad. One of my favorite actors from Reservoir Dogs passed. I know Malcolm Jamal Warner was a friend actually of your manager Angelique.
Yeah.
It's really been a very, very rough month. The one bright side was the gentleman that proposed to the Osbourne girl, Kelly Osbourne.
Yes.
Did so backstage at the Black Sabbath concert right before her father passed. So he actually did get to be a part of that.
That's wonderful. Okay, hey, there's some positive news
That's
for everybody
wonderful.
this
And
month.
they're doing a biopic on Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne, which I think is wonderful.
Love that.
For those that don't know, one of the most interesting things about them is her father was managing and wanted to dump Black Sabbath because he didn't see a way for them. And she actually said, nope, I'm following the band. I'm going with them. I believe in them.
Yeah.
And so she backed them. She managed them, ended up marrying Ozzy, obviously.
Yeah.
But before all that, she really believed in them and backed them. And she saw a future for them when nobody else at her company and her father didn't. And so she turned them into the monolith they became.
I like to think of it as they were going to be successful no matter what. So who's going to be the one that backs them? And it might as well be me, right? Or whoever. That's
how she felt about it. And so we have, and that's on the bright side of music. And on the dark side of music, we have a K-pop icon that was just arrested for SA.
Yeah. And apparently there were also rumors circulating that he's been inappropriate with his fan base before. So it's not like it's the first time he's done it. Do we want to name drop him?
Yeah, should go for it.
I don't know his name.
He's in jail.
I was asking you. Sorry?
Moon. Yeah.
Moon?
Yeah.
All right, Moon.
I'm going to have trouble pronouncing. Here we go.
No, fair enough.
Moon Tai.
Moon Tai?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell. But I'm having
like,
trouble with the pronunciation. I apologize.
People will know.
But essentially, I couldn't think of anybody who deserves prison more.
Then a sexual offender? I think of how to say it without getting YouTube upset.
Yes, especially somebody that preys on his underage fan base.
Which, I kind of feel like when people get into that industry, there's already an understanding that, hey, I'm in the music, I'm in a boy band, I'm going to be in a very popular boy band. There's already going to be young women who are like attracted to me. That's going to be the case. I can't fight that. But that is extra responsibility for you. Why are you touching up on kids in general, let alone using your power and influence to get yourself there? And why is everyone around you hiding it?
Well, think of it like the pedos that join the Boy Scouts or the priesthood. People put themselves in that position because they want to take advantage intentionally. In that case, in your case, most of your fan base is male. Mm-hmm. You don't have a lot of female fans. Yours is mostly men. But if you wanted to go after women, you would put yourself in a position where your fan base was young women.
I actually, so there's an organization called IMAF, International MMA Federation, and they do a lot of youth matches and tournaments throughout the country and outside the country. I had to become a coach for them to coach for my gym's kids. And part of their courses were about predatory behavior and seeing how people kind of integrate themselves into these coaching specific jobs or some type of influencer, like a role model-esque position. And what they do to really get involved with the kids, it's always someone the kids have learned and gained respect of. It's always someone who puts in the extra effort with your kids, which sucks because it's like, you don't know if this person, this guy or woman, is just trying to be really there for them, or if there's a side of them that's trying to be predatory.
I think you have to be vigilant either way.
You do.
If we're realistic, you know, I've fostered a lot of children over the years, and the story is always the same. It's always somebody that puts themselves in a position of power. So all we can do as adults is protect children as best we can. And if we see something, say something. I know it's what you're taught in high school, but the reality is, if you even think something is wrong, you should say something. I would rather be questioned 1,000 times and have every parent questioned 1,000 times than let children go through. A lot of the children I've fostered are the result of SA, are the result of abuse, and that is forever. Once that happens, there's no do-over. It damages children forever, and those children without help become very damaged adults, and hence it ends up cyclical. So I understand why they infiltrate those organizations. We all do. It's the easiest way to gain access to those children. But the flip side is there has to be a little common sense. Everyone's going to hate me for this, but there are moments like, hey, look, Michael Jackson's having a sleepover. All the children are staying in his bed.
Don't send your kids to Michael Jackson's house. What is with people back
in the
80s,
that's
90s,
the thing. But that's
happened?
The thing. The reality is okay, let's say he was perfectly innocent. Let's just, for argument's sake, say it was perfectly innocent. It's still inappropriate.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of common sense there. Why is your child, in this position? Now, that's why these predators put themselves in the position with things like Boy Scouts, with things like clergy, because it gives them unfettered access.
There's also, just, I guess, for anyone, heads up, parents, child, whoever's listening right now, which, by the way, if you're a child, why are you listening to an 18+ show? The biggest tell, one of the first things that happens is they're asking for private interaction. It could be totally wholesome. Hey, you're failing your classes. I'm your teacher. I'm your tutor. I want to help you. But at the point where they're requesting private access to you, you should be looking into that. That could indicate a problem. And if it's totally wholesome, it's worth it to get checked out. Well,
the next thing is they're crossing boundaries. There is no reason an adult wants to be friends with a child.
Yes, there is not.
There's just, I have fostered many children. I've mentored. I've brought on plenty of assistants and interns over the years. I've worked with schools. The children are not my friends. When I was 20 and in the industry and I was lecturing then, the children are not my friends.
That's a good point. If the person in charge of you, your group, your class, whoever is telling you that I'm your friend, that's not a friend. That's not a good source. You don't want to be trusting that one. Our topics are dark today. Wow.
I know. I'm just saying I just don't see any reason that I think we need to teach children that if somebody in a position of power is trying to be your friend, there's a problem. Yeah. One of the examples I always give, and I tease Bear all the time about firing me as his student. But he did. He did.
I did.
So he was teaching me, for those that don't know, Bear was teaching me martial arts. I was being stalked. Very shockingly common problem in my life and job. And so I've gone in for this self-defense class. I'd been, assaulted, and I had all these things happen.
I started coaching her privately.
And he was interested in me.
Yes.
And so he literally dropped me as his student, said, no, can't teach you anymore. It's inappropriate.
And before she could ask why it's appropriate, I turned around and said, hey, do you want to go on a date? I'm no longer your coach. I dropped it. Because I don't believe that a person of power should be asking that of someone who's underneath them, because there could be so many different impressions. Will this person stop coaching me if I say no? Is this person going to hurt me because we're doing a martial arts thing? Are they going to be inappropriate or weird when we are going through the lessons because they're still interested, but I rejected them? So it's much easier to just...
And if you wrestle with them after the fact and you think they have a cell phone in their pocket, it's not a cell phone. You made it weird.
I didn't make it weird.
That was after the fact, though, so everybody knows.
Thank you.
I'm just, it's not how I tell the story, but realistically, that was after the fact, and it was.
That's fair. You definitely tell the story without that last caveat, but I definitely appreciate you putting that caveat in there.
But I found that that was part of the reason I liked you. I found that a very honorable way to interact.
Well, thank you.
And I think honor is a very underrated attribute these days. I think it's incredibly important.
I think honor, self-discipline, responsibility. It's a lot of things that people aren't taking into account anymore.
I think
don't see
shame.
it.
Shame is the big thing.
I know you say shame, there should be more of it. Sometimes I've agreed with you, but the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, I don't think most people need to be ashamed of themselves. But they
No,
should
I
definitely look
think
at that
social
like,
shame. I think
Oh, okay.
social
What do you-
shame. I'm not saying like, oh, you should be, you know, oh, you.
I don't want people to hate themselves.
No,
right?
I don't care if they hate themselves. I care how they react in society. And
That's
realistically, I think shame is an underrated attribute. My family, where I come from, if I misbehaved in public, my family would be ashamed. If I, you know, if I was down the street and I did the wrong thing, I'd probably have, let's say I went to my doctor's office and I was naughty at the doctor's. The doctor would smack me and then call my parent. My parent would smack me. So there was
get it twice for acting
yes,
up.
that's why you never told anyone when you got smacked at school. But the reality is, I think shame is underrated. Everybody is so worried about their feelings. They're not worried about society or the feelings of others. We have confused my truth with the truth, which I think is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's one of actually the topics we'll be talking about today. When we talk about Lauren, who's on the show, we're going to be talking about Blake Lively.
Living in reality.
Living in reality. And one of the things Blake Lively is really missing is the social construct. She's going after these people. She's subpoenaed these people. She's put them on blast.
Yeah.
And she's taken these people not because she needed them, but because she can. And she did it as a form of social shaming and public expose.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I do believe there needs to be more shame in society.
Well, I can't argue with that level of it. I always took it from you as like, you know, be ashamed of yourself instead of just trying to correct the actions. But I agree. I don't think you should be totally throwing all sense of like concern, courtesy, respect to the winds. Oh, that is just our wonderful people talking in the studio background. Our sound engineers letting us know that our guest is here, not ear, and that our guest is ready to join us.
Okay. Well, I don't want to use shame as a segue, so say something better.
Did you guys know that tarantulas keep frogs as pets because they will protect the tarantula babies until they hatch? And then if they hatch successfully, they tend to let the frog go free, or maybe even keep it, and the frog hides on its back as it walks away.
Uh-huh.
That is scientific.
Yes. Tarantulas kidnap frogs.
I did forget to say they kidnap them.
They kidnap frogs and sometimes eat them after the frogs have protected the eggs.
Or they let them go, or they keep them for the next batch. They don't always get eaten. And sometimes we even see the frog from a distance running under the tarantula to like get safety from predators. They do get something out of it.
That's a hostage.
No, safety from the predator. Like, let's say it's being chased
The
by a bird.
tarantula's
And
the predator
tarantula's like,
fool.
but it's, you know.
This is not a better segue. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
No, that was amazing.
Thank you. See, someone's on my
This
side.
was not a better segue.
I love that piece of knowledge. I can't believe I just learned that.
No, me neither.
I'm so grateful. Anyways, how you doing today, Lauren?
Oh, you know, I'm all right. I just got back from New York, so I'm doing okay. Just a little sleepy today, but you know, I'm awake now that I know about the tarantulas.
I'm very glad we're able to help you out there.
Yeah.
I was just looking for a better segue and we landed on tarantulas. So.
No, that was the best segue ever.
I'm not sure how that works. So for everyone out there, Lauren, welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are?
Thank you. So I obviously do a small YouTube channel. It's called The Court of Random Opinion. But in my regular day-to-day life, I've been working in healthcare. I worked in emergency psych for several years. Now I've kind of transitioned into appeal writing. So when insurance companies don't want to pay people's healthcare bills, I have to write to them like a Karen and say, you have to pay the bill. So yeah.
That is the Karen to get behind. That is the best possible use. Like I love that. I'm personally not a fan of privatized healthcare. So that's where I come from. We have national health. So it's a little easier. There's no one saying you can't have your operation because you can't.
Right. That's how it should be.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. But that being said, thank God there are people like you.
To
help people do that. So you got swept up in one of the biggest scandals in the last decade online.
Yeah. So it's kind of random. I've been talking about the court case since the court documents came out,
Mhm.
but I wasn't paying too much attention to these people beforehand. I know there was a lot of drama surrounding it with us, Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, and the cast. Before the lawsuits came out, there was lots of speculation on TikTok and Reddit and stuff like that. I kind of saw it passively, and every now and then I would get curious and I would click on it or whatever, but I never really talked much about it. So when I started covering the court case, I guess it was January of this year. So long after this Blake Lively smear campaign accusation was put into place. So it doesn't really make sense for me to be dragged into this, yet she and her attorneys have accused me of being part of some smear campaign orchestrated by Justin Baldoni and the Wayfair parties. They think they are paying people or enlisting them somehow to speak unfavorably about her, which is absolutely not the case.
So just to
Well, I would
confirm that for
trust
sure.
that the publicists, I've worked with many publicists in my life, and I've been in Hollywood a long time.
Okay.
I trust that if the publicists are paying for that, they would be smart enough not to pay people that would get caught. I'm just saying.
Right.
I put it like governments. If there's going to be a conspiracy, I trust my government to be good enough that I don't find out.
Oh, well, my mouth would get me caught, so there you go.
it's
Wait.
perfect. So they accused you of being part of this grand conspiracy
Right.
against Blake Lively.
Yeah.
Because personally, I think it's because she cannot handle the fact that she has lost popularity because her actual
Correct.
personality showed.
Right. And I didn't know much about her personally, but I liked her work before that. I would say loosely, I was a fan. I didn't really like follow her and her, personal life or anything too closely, but I liked Blake. I like Ryan. I liked their movies. So I had nothing bad to say about them at all until I saw that she was representing herself in a way that was rude, abrasive, dishonest, and a lot of other things. And these are all things that she has done. My initial kind of negative opinion about her when this started was based on clips of her or her words. It wasn't like anyone did anything or said anything to make me feel that way except for Blake. So
were there anything I'm genuinely curious now, someone who's not too involved in the situation other than what I hear from the side sometimes when she's screaming at her tablet. So what are some things she said or did that kind of initially were off-putting to you?
Well, there was that interview, of course, that went viral with Shasti Flaw.
That was horrifying.
Yeah, and I've since met and talked with her, and she's a fabulous person. She's very professional,
lovely.
very kind. You rarely see her like really say anything bad about anybody. So that kind of stuck out to me initially. But then when I saw like some of the accusations that Blake Lively had made, and I saw the footage that refuted her story, that was what really, I think, got me. It was like there's clear-cut evidence here that she didn't realize existed to refute her claim. That's showing everybody that, hey, this is not what you said happened, and you absolutely lied about this, in my opinion. So, like, that kind of is what got to me. So
that's fair. Absolutely. No one wants to be caught up in a lie. And I think someone with her personality type that we're seeing unravel now has no choice but to keep digging a deeper hole, hoping to finally find some kind of gold.
Actually, if she wanted to spin, the smartest thing she could do, my end spin, I always tell people spin. The smartest thing she could do is turn around, because there was a history of her having, where there was a complaint filed, and she had been inappropriately interacted with. That had been settled and handled. I would have turned around and said, I completely misread the situation. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That takes the onus, the blame off, and that kind of gives her out. Unfortunately, I think,
would that even work at this point?
No, it's too late now.
No.
No way.
Seems a little far.
That train has jumped the rails, gone off the road, and straight into a ditch. We are well past that. I'm talking about in the beginning when that might have worked in the beginning, but where she is now, she has accused somebody of SA.
Yeah.
She has accused, them of harassment. Now, from what I hear, I don't know Baldoni. He is a pretty weird dude in the first place to work with. So if she'd have just been like, I was really stressed, clearly read this wrong, cool. People could get behind that.
I think so when talking about Justin, my initial impressions of Justin were like he's a cringy male feminist. And I thought that he was like not like weird, but he was different. And my opinion has obviously changed over time, where I am not going to come out here and speak unfavorably about someone who makes a harassment claim or something like that, unless I feel like I really know what I'm talking about. So I did reach out to some people who have worked with Justin, who know Justin, who love Justin, and everyone that I heard from at any point, it was overwhelmingly positive. Like, this guy is real. He is absolutely what you see on the screen. Like, because you expect. Unfortunately, I think we all have kind of a cynical view because people are so dishonest in these situations sometimes. You expect people to be like, oh, that guy's actually kind of full of crap. But he's not. Anyone who actually knows him told me that there is a 100% chance that she's lying. There's no way this man did this. And so that kind of sealed it for me. I was like, these people actually know him. Some of them were there, worked on the film. And I didn't ask them about Blake. I didn't ask them about Justin's relationship to Blake or anything that happened between them. I just asked them about him. And everybody confirms to me that there's no way he did this. And he's a very, very good person. So
that actually is very much his reputation in Hollywood. He does have the reputation of being the guy that shows up, does his job, and if you need a couch lifted, he'll grab the other end. Like, it's that's really been his reputation. And unfortunately, Blake Lively does have the history. She went after Penn Badgley. She's gone after multiple people multiple times. So she could not have picked a worse person to pick a fight with.
Right. That's so dumb. I was like, oh my God, this is the dumbest thing ever. And they use his use his quotes from his TED talk and stuff like that in their court filings. And I'm like, this is backfiring, right? Like,
huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
What is your opinion of the court cases? It's kind of unveiling.
Well, she got dragged into the court case.
That's why I want hers, because she's in the midst of it.
Yeah. We're at a point now where his lawsuit was ultimately, most of his claims, the counterclaims, were dismissed by the judge, and people misunderstand that. Unfortunately, they think it means that, like, he wasn't telling the truth or what she said was true. There's certain protections in place to where she first made her claims in a CRD complaint, which is like a legally protected thing. So you can't really sue someone over that. So she was very clever. She was very calculated, very smart in what she did, to where, like, his claims were ultimately going to fail because she was protected by this law. These laws that are supposed to protect people who have actually been harassed or assaulted or, something like that.
It's also like the whistleblower protections. It essentially means that there can be, for the audience, what that means is there can be no retaliation for claims made. And those laws should exist. They are not in any way a negative thing. This is just somebody with the know-how taking advantage of them. But they are incredibly necessary laws.
Mm-hmm. And, people misunderstand that, unfortunately, to think that she was absolutely in the right. And now we're just seeing him defend himself against her. And it's falling apart because she is trying to desperately find evidence of this smear campaign, which is ultimately turning over that the public just doesn't like her. But they don't trust her, what she's saying, because it's been shown that she was not entirely honest. It's exposing her as somebody who kind of uses this harassment claim for, in my opinion, clout, for wanting to be the new face of the Me Too movement and take over this movement that's meant to protect people and use it to kind of elevate herself. And it's backfiring in a very big way, because you're seeing all these people who have been critical of her now coming out on the official court docket that she's dragged them into, say, this is why I don't believe her. This is why I don't like her. All this kind of stuff, spelling it out to where it's like, here's the truth. The truth is you did something wrong and we don't like it. And so it's starting to fall apart and unravel, and it's become about this smear campaign thing, and the harassment claims have totally fallen to the wayside because she has no evidence to support it.
Got it.
It's somebody who doesn't have the ability to understand they're not likable. Think of it. I always use the comparison. Amber Heard couldn't, she threw the stuff out about Johnny Depp, turned on her. That became a thing. One of the biggest examples in today's day and age is Duchess of Sussex, trying to put forward, a certain persona. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
The reality with Blake Lively is she is not capable. She's genuinely not emotionally capable of understanding. She's not liked. Because her husband is so well liked, she took the attachment people have to him and made it a them, and it's just not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely, and I think that he's obviously more popular and more well known, but now people are starting to kind of
turn on him because of that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those. I'm like, it doesn't show good judgment. You already traded Scarlett Johansson for Blake Lively. Not exactly an upward or even parallel switch, but fine.
Yeah, I didn't even know those two were married because I don't follow the court stuff. I don't really follow a lot of the pop culture stuff. I don't know a lot about these people's relationships, so I was surprised. It was like he was married to Scarlett Johansson. Like what?
So he oddly social climbed in the beginning of his career, not in a bad way. He was involved with like Melissa Joan Hart when he did Sabrina the Teenage Witch movie. He then from there he went and got involved with Alanis Morissette, and they were engaged for an extended period. And then he married Scarlett Johansson. And then had an affair on Scarlett Johansson with Blake Lively because I don't know. That just still baffles the mind. I don't know who'd give up Scarlett Johansson for Blake Lively.
There's a wonderful phrase out there that says, no matter how beautiful or how much of a 10 that woman or man is, someone somewhere is sick of their shit.
I'd like to remind everyone every time we use bad language, Boys and Girls Club of America, the Humane Society of America, and Free MMA. We swear because we can.
We actually do sponsor charities every time we curse.
It's called the Sean Patrick Flannery rule. He said the F word 72 times in 30 minutes.
So oh my God. I've been watching my language, and that's probably a good thing because you would be like broke donating to charity.
Perfect. Yeah,
thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
So, but now for those that don't know, Scarlett Johansson, lovely woman, incredibly nice woman.
Yeah.
The exact opposite of what you hear about with the Mean Girl stuff. Now, the interview you were referring to where she went in and talked about the baby, she had announced that she was pregnant, she had the baby bump, and then started talking to a woman who had just gotten news of her own infertility.
Right.
About hers because she thought that was clever for some reason. That interview really shredded her. And then more and more interviews came out. The issue with Penn Badgley came out. Her behavior on Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants came out. All of these things started snowballing. And for some reason, her inability to grasp that the internet exists now and you can't hide things like you did 20 years ago means that you are in a conspiracy with Justin Baldoni. I'm just curious how that leap's made.
I mean, it kind of makes me wonder, like, hey, like you're a publicist. I know she's had her publicist for a long time. I'm like, is your publicist keeping up with the times? Because that's just not how the internet works these days. Like, people will dig up your stuff and try to cancel you for honestly very minimal reasons. And I don't think she's accepting that very well. And it's like, at some point, I feel like at times that's unreasonable. I think in some circumstances, actually in the beginning of this case, before I really knew that she was being dishonest, I thought, I was kind of annoyed that people were trying to, I guess, cancel her over stuff she said like 10 years ago. Where it was like, hey, I don't think that's really fair. But that is the nature of the internet these days. And if you're going to be a public figure or a celebrity or a movie star, you have to know how to navigate that. And the people who are helping you, your publicists, and even your attorneys in this case, have to know how to help you navigate that. And they just don't. It's terrible. They're doing a terrible job. It's bad.
I know for most of us, we'd have to speculate this, but for anyone who does a little more research, such as yourself, or a lot of research in your case, you have maybe a grander understanding of their mindset involving the court case. Because if I was thinking about the lawyers right now, I would assume, you probably are in over your head and you're shitting bricks trying to find something to actually stick against that wall. But maybe they genuinely believe that they're nailing it right now and they're finding that big conspiracies.
I think that she probably believes that at somehow. I don't know, but she seems to have a very let's say confident sense of self in all of this and thinks she's in the right.
So the sweetest way I've heard narcissism explained.
Yeah, right. Well, I have to be careful, I don't want them to subpoena me in our messages or anything.
That's very reasonable, but let's go with historically, people that grew up in the film industry do tend to show narcissistic traits, and she has been in it for an extended period of time.
I could agree. Yes. And I believe her family as well. Is that true?
Yep. Yeah. The whole family's been in forever, and she grew up in it.
So I think the lawyers, to be honest, I have to, and this is a total assumption, but based on what I've seen from them and the way that I think when I read what they're writing and what they're doing as, is this really why you got into law? I think that the billing is just really good. So yeah.
I love that payday, man.
You have to look at the situation. She's created a vacuum. There's a level of fame that you get into that people will lie to you. And I don't think, and it's not her that's gotten to that level of fame. It's her husband. So her husband has hired these yes men because she's gotten more famous from this lawsuit than she ever was before. She was simply best known as Ryan Reynolds' wife.
Yep.
And now, because of all this, they've created this insular vacuum. She was Ryan Reynolds' wife and Taylor Swift's friend. And even Taylor Swift has headed for the hills because that's another one that has a very good reputation.
That's very telling. Yeah.
Because she has stuck by friends when there have been huge scandals.
Right.
So for her to book it, that's very, very unusual.
Yep.
With the level of fame she's getting, and I actually think both of you could probably talk about this, but I do want to hear our guest.
I want to hear her too.
Sorry to say
no,
that.
I want to hear her too.
Do you think this in some ways going to come out positive in the end? Like maybe a few months post the whole court, everything's done. She gets in a movie and everyone's like, oh, I hate her. So I want to go watch the movie and see how bad it is. You think at some point this becomes like a positive for her?
Honestly, I don't know if enough people are like, and I know a lot of people are paying attention to the lawsuit, but in the grand scheme of things, when you think about the whole population and like Ryan Reynolds fans and stuff like that, a lot of them aren't paying close enough attention to honestly probably cancel like her career or something like that. So I feel like she's probably going to move on. And I would say she would not be immensely popular because this is something that's going to come up every time she is in any kind of film. But I think that she will at least be able to like make a living. You know what I mean?
She wasn't immensely popular beforehand though. That's but
as a couple, they were pretty
Gossip Girl. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's relying on him. I mean, I think the last time she was popular was Gossip Girl. I think you hit the nail on the head.
I liked Gossip Girl. I watched it, so it's not my style at all. So I was like, I watch it so many times. I watch it probably 3 or 4 times. Like, why am I watching this? But
I was in it for the fashion, admittedly.
Yeah.
But
that is definitely not my forte.
I thought Blake Lively was a country music singer.
That's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, no, that's how much I know about her. I heard that name like, oh, why is she got her shot in a movie and this is how it went or something like that. That was my first idea of her.
But that's the point. You're a Ryan Reynolds fan, so even they know she's married to Ryan Reynolds. But that is where the male But that's it. But that's where the male populace is with Blake Lively. Is she's tried to. That was the other thing with the film she did. She tried to sell herself as a sex pot. I'm like, no. People don't see it that way. Just
what the hell is a sex pot?
super sexy and alluring.
It just sounds like where people dispose of their waste material.
No.
Okay, just want to make sure.
But essentially, she's tried. She wants to sell herself as a fashionista.
Okay.
And then she took a character that should have had nothing to do with fashion and wrecked it. Fans of the book hated that. And that led to people digging into her. Her vanity is what made people dig in the first place. She tried to take over the project, much like Ryan Reynolds did. It's worked for him in the past. And again, that caused people to dig. Every move she made was vanity-based.
That did not go well. And I don't know much about fashion at all, but I knew that like what she was doing with that was a mess. So that's saying something.
It was so bad. It's the moment you're like, okay, I'm playing a florist in Balmain heels,
dress like a farmer and wear nice heels. Yeah,
the
overalls.
I buy those shoes. I know how much they cost. A florist is not buying those shoes, and you are not standing all day on your feet walking in those. Those are car to table heels.
There's just a wild swing. I felt like between scenes, like she was dressing like she couldn't afford clothes, and then she was all of a sudden like wearing very expensive clothes. She
used her own clothing in the movie and then charged the movie for the use of the clothing. Something she did that was very exploitative, and this is from a production end, was insisting on using her own fashion and then renting her clothes to the production and then dressing her own character. It was very untrue to the character itself.
Yeah, it was
very poorly done.
And I watched the movie too, but like I watched it.
Seen the film.
Once I watched it myself, and then another time somebody really wanted to watch it, so I watched it with them. But that was over 6 months ago. So I'm like, there are only a couple things that stick out in my mind. One was with the like very, very poofy hair scene, and then there was the other one with the overalls, and that's all I can really remember. But it was a mess. Yeah,
I'm a huge fan. Make the most money you can. It's my goal in life. I make as much money as you can.
It's like triple dipping in the worst way, though.
That's the problem. If you're going to double dip, make it financially viable to the production.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
just saying.
Yeah, don't make the production hate you.
That's
I'm
it.
sorry, that's my thought process. If I'm a producer and I suddenly see a bill for the Blake Lively's clothes, knowing that she brought her own fucking clothes to the set,
Well,
I'd be
actually,
so mad.
you are allowed to do that, and it is wear and tear on the clothing. That is the actual point.
If I needed it though, not because she just goddamn
That's-
insisted
that's
on
the-
it.
Right.
That is the problem. Now, in your case, you have had your life put on blast. You have had your private
Right.
information put out there. You have been wrecked by these allegations, by this woman who, frankly, is accusing you of being involved in a conspiracy. Your life is being dug up and pushed online. You're being publicly exposed. I'm going to say personally, and I'll stand by this, I'm not asking you to say this, I personally see this as an intimidation tactic towards those online that are speaking out against her, because they do not have the same financial resources to get attorneys and do all the same stuff that she would have. So that's how I perceive this. So if anyone has a problem with that statement, that's coming from me, not her. How has this affected your life?
So I mean, I feel like what you said was pretty accurate. There's no evidence that I was ever involved in any smear campaign. Never talked about this before the lawsuits came out. I show people how to access the information that I'm accessing and discussing. It's all public, federal court filings. There was no reason to ever believe I was really part of any campaign, but I believe that this was done to target and harass people who, are speaking unfavorably about her online. And then today, just a couple of hours ago, they came out with an unsealed part of her deposition where she says the only evidence of this ongoing smear campaign that she has was Justin Baldoni's, retaliatory lawsuit against her and his lawyer's statements to the press. And I'm like, what does that have to do with me? What does that have to do with my credit card numbers, my geolocation data going back to May 2024, long before you ever filed this lawsuit, 6 months before I ever spoke about it? My bank accounts, my blockchain data, anything like that, backup email addresses, all phone numbers associated with my accounts. What does that have to do with your litigation? It doesn't. And her attorneys, they'll come out here and say in response, because they have to respond to this, they can't just let me run my mouth. So they'll say, like, this is an evidence gathering process. Subpoenas are not an accusation of wrongdoing, but they refuse to meet and confer as they're supposed to in New York federal court. You have to meet and confer. They refused to meet and confer with me to explain why they were seeking this information that they sought from 107 people, some of it even more invasive than my subpoena.
Popcorn Palace got it pretty bad as well.
Popcorn Planet, yes, he did. And he's still fighting a personal subpoena. She subpoenaed him at least twice for different information. So there's no reason for you to ask for this information from 107 people other than what they said to me was, Wayfarer is accused of having this retaliatory smear campaign and we're seeking information on people involved. And so they were accusing me of being involved with that. That's an accusation. So they can come out and say subpoenas aren't an accusation of wrongdoing because they use this very specific, precise language that works in court, but it does not work in the press.
I'm going to say this and it's going to sound terrible. It's actually brilliant. Hear me out on this.
No,
it's a fishing expedition. It puts you in a position where you're on the defensive. You're not going to want to talk as much about what's going on. And by subpoenaing everybody, anything they can find that pulls people together can be used as conspiracy. So you and I just talked about Popcorn Palace. If you've had any interaction with him, that can now be connected. Now you, I, and he are in a conspiracy because it only takes 3. Yeah. So it's really very, very clever. It's exactly what they tell us not to do in law school.
I have a question. So in my brain, a subpoena is more like I have presented this request to a judge and this person has to agree for me to get information, get what I want.
Oh, there was no judicial.
There's no.
That's what I was wondering. Is that required? Like normally, don't they have to get someone to say that or no?
No, they did not. And that's actually how they got all of their evidence for this case in the first place. They filed a fake lawsuit.
Yep.
A fake lawsuit under a shell company against John Does, even though they knew there were no John Does. They knew exactly who they were going to try to sue. And they got that information from one of their devices, one of the defendant's devices, and they went about it that way so nobody could be notified that they were trying to get that information and fight it in court. So they have all these shady tactics that they're using, and it's like it's not going over well from a PR standpoint, and they they refuse to accept that just because you can get away with this like precise language and these things that are technically not illegal in the court, that it's going to go over well with the public, and it's not.
I'm gonna quote. Have you seen the TV series Breaking Bad?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to quote a Breaking Bad quote real quick, and that is, in these guys' case, You don't want a criminal lawyer. You want a criminal lawyer. That's exactly how it sounds to me.
That's what they've done. They put together a lawsuit. The entire point of the first lawsuit was evidentiary collection. And once they took all of that, they went after the people that were speaking out.
That's how
and
it sounds.
it's essentially, the mob used a very similar tactic, by the way, years and years and years ago. And the government used a similar tactic to go after the mob. So it's not a savory way of doing it.
No.
In your case, obviously, it hasn't shut you down. It's awful what's been done to you.
Yeah.
Have you considered, countersuing? Have you considered getting with everyone she went after and filing a class action? I mean, go after that.
I mean, I'm not like this lady in that I don't want to sue people and I want nothing to do with her. Like, I don't want nothing to do with this lady. Like, she's a terrible person. I just want to live my life and like speak. I can speak on publicly, interesting things without being bothered by her. And I'm fine with that. If other people decided that was something they wanted to do, then I would probably be on board with that. I myself personally, I'm not going to be the one to like go after that just because I'm not trying to like put that kind of stress on my life right now. Just on my own. I feel like this has been enough as it is just to do by myself. And I obviously couldn't afford an attorney's retainer fee, which was like ridiculous. So I don't feel like it's really in the cards right now.
Now, for somebody like yourself, you've worked in the mental health field.
Sure.
You're dealing with somebody that is displaying some very bizarre behavior. Yep. Just personal opinion. How does all this nonsense read to you?
So it seems like an absolute refusal to accept accountability, which is, you see that a lot in people who have, and this is obviously an opinion and not a professional opinion, because like I said, I've now transitioned just recently out of psych anyways into healthcare appeals. So I can say what I want. I'm not a licensed provider, anything like that. So don't take this as a formal diagnosis or anything, but you see that a lot in people with delusions who just like refuse to let it go. And this absolutely is reading as delusional to me. So
I wonder if, you'd look at people like Blake Lively that were once upon a time popular, and you wonder if she doesn't understand she isn't Serena on Gossip Girl anymore.
I don't know, man. It kind of seems that way, but I never really knew much about her personally until this lawsuit, and now I'm seeing her behavior within this context, and I just wonder, like, is this all this person is? Is this like, is she just being aggressive because of the lawsuit? I don't know. I do try to be somewhat objective. I'm obviously biased in this case, and I'm honest about that. I'm biased towards Justin's side. I believe him. I believe what he's saying. But I do try to sometimes step back and think about the context of everything. I'm like, well, there's a lot I don't know about her. So
I can't imagine Ryan Reynolds is having less than a field day with this whole thing going on.
If he's smart, he'll divorce. If he's smart and he wants to save his career, he'll divorce her. Because the truth is, she'll drag him down. She's an anchor now.
Well, now I wonder if he's on board, though. If he's not thinking to himself, I trust you. I've seen they're against you.
He might.
With you.
They live in a very insulated world. There is a certain point of celebrity and money where you are insulated. But narcissism does not exist in a vacuum. And this behavior is, I'm not saying it's narcissistic personality disorder. It's not a point of the dark triad. I'm simply saying when you look at narcissistic behaviors, the idea that you could be disliked being so foreign to somebody hates me every day. That's normal. I'm sure you get it. I know Bear.
I do now. I mean, yeah.
The idea that people couldn't like you being so foreign is ridiculous. Taylor Swift, one of the most popular women on the planet, is also one of the most trolled.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's the flip side, and you wonder how insulated she has to be to have the concept that she could be disliked so foreign to her. I mean, Kendrick hated her, absolutely hated her. And I worked with her years and years ago on Warrior's Heart. Lovely woman, by the way. And she is difficult herself. So for somebody who's difficult, and she's not a bad person difficult, she's a perfectionist difficult. Okay. So that I want to be very clear. I'm not saying she's a bad person or hard to work with. She's absolutely a perfectionist, and she expects more from herself than anyone else, but she expects a lot from other people, and I have no complaints there. She always puts out a good project that way. Because of that, you wonder how in God's name those two got along on set and tolerated each other for a part 2 on that film.
Or it's the money.
Yeah, no idea. That's yeah.
I'm like that's just a personal. I don't know how that happened. In your case, you've been targeted, you've been trolled, you've had, your personal information pulled out. You've had courts try and pull your personal information. You've had one of the wealthiest couples in the world target you simply because you didn't like someone, and then accused you of a conspiracy because the idea that you couldn't like her or couldn't like her behavior is so foreign she couldn't cope.
Yeah.
Being on the opposite end of that is a lot of pressure from people with a lot of money and a lot of power. How are you coping?
I have a lot of really great people in my life, and a lot of them are attorneys. I keep my YouTube stuff and my personal life stuff, my friends that I've had for years and years and years, pretty separate. But a couple of the smartest people I know who are very close to me are lawyers, and so they've helped me cope with this a lot. And I don't talk too much about them just because, like I said, I like to keep those things separate. But they definitely guided me a lot through this process, and it's people that I've known for most of my adult life, and they know me better than anybody else, especially anyone who's saying anything about me online right now. And so that I feel like that helps me a lot. So
that's good. It's always important to have a support system, some people who can help you and be there for you and potentially offer advice. Your question actually, Summer, is very similar to one that I wanted to know, and that is, apart from obviously the data that was leaked, are you noticing any other kind of personal backlash? Do you have an increase in haters? Did your videos take a hit? Is there something else that this is kind of really taken away from you as time's gone on?
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as like videos and views and stuff, I feel like it had the opposite of its intended effect.
Oh yeah, they give you a bump?
Yeah. And I didn't ask for that, but that's what happened. And so as far as everything else, though, I started seeing my picture and stuff on like page 6. It was like the top story on page 6 one day. And I was like, I'm such a random person to be the top story on page 6. And they have this awful screenshot of me, and it starts circulating over all the outlets.
Oh, I hate when they do that. I love the editors over there. Shout out. But I hate when you guys do that. It's always the worst picture. I think the last picture they got of me, I was like,
damn, you couldn't have just asked me for a picture. I would have just given you one.
I'm happy to do it. Can you not get one where I look like Donkey from Shrek? Like, it's not. Right. It's not great. They do. They just snap one and run and go with it. It's always terrible.
I was like, what video was that even from? Where did you get this picture of my face? Yeah, it was crazy. So I start, seeing people criticizing that. Obviously, the first thing, interestingly, from the people who are like from the support women crowd, because they, believe Blake or whatever, are attacking my looks and my, just my kind of mannerisms and the fact that I guess I remind them of Rosie O'Donnell. I don't know. So I get a lot of that. And then, of course, there's people who don't follow this case and don't understand that she subpoenaed me. She dragged me into this, who are just like, oh, this YouTuber is just looking for attention. I'm like, no, ma'am. Like, I just don't want her to have my credit card number. Like, what is the problem here? It's
terribly unreasonable.
I love that. So the support women crowd who say that, the support everyone crowd, jumping on you,
right?
And at that,
and going after
your appearance and how you talk. It's not even about the case anymore.
Okay, girls,
correct.
Do better.
Yeah, right.
We can do better. Come on.
Well,
we at least have to show up the other side. The boys, we have to do better than them.
There's a lot of hard conversations that are not necessarily even being had, but just like people butting heads because I feel like we can't talk about this because there's so much animosity and big emotions around the subject of harassment and abuse, that people will come at me because they believe that I'm attacking someone who is vulnerable and being hurt and needs to be protected, and so they're trying to, in a way, protect someone who needs it. But the thing is, she doesn't need it. She's lying, and so the fact that they're coming after me is ridiculous. But people aren't going to understand that. They just see accusations and they want to automatically believe that she's telling the truth, and I understand why. I definitely do. But the fact is, she's not, in my opinion. So
where do you think this conversation with Blake Lively goes on a larger scale?
I mean, I think it just kind of makes you look at the system and how it is right now and how the public views these things. And you think because you look at how things were when the New York Times article came out and her initial lawsuit came out before Justin Baldoni and Wayfair had anything to say. And it's like people were just attacking this guy, and everybody automatically believed everything that she was saying because it sounded so creepy. It sounded terrible. And I remember I read her lawsuit first, and I tried to look at that a little bit more objectively. And I was like, well, if this happened, then that's bad. If this happened. But a lot of people are going to take what you see in a legal document as fact. And so it kind of makes you look at the system and think, like, are we failing people who are actually in a vulnerable position to where he was like having his film taken over and being, in my opinion, emotionally abused by this woman. And they're like looking at
Absolutely.
it like attacking the who I believe to be the victim in this case. So
Right.
I really liked it's funny the way he handled it, and I get it from a production standpoint. I'd have done the same thing. He was still praising her in the press and still trying to get this movie through and make a buck. So I was actually impressed with how he handled it. So do you think she's being bullied or harassed?
I do not. No, I think, well, bullying is kind of like, that's a harder thing to say, because you could look at somebody who's like making fun of her outfits or something and say that's bullying. So I think that's a really subjective thing.
I am definitely bullying her for her outfits.
As far as harassment goes, I say absolutely not by me or anyone that she's dragged into her lawsuit. Yeah. Because I have never spoken to this woman. I've had her blocked on social media. I have her husband blocked on social media. I don't bother her. I never will. I never want to have anything to do with her. I just want to be able to talk about what I feel like is wrong with this public interest case. Like, you should be able to participate in public discourse without being accused of harassment. That's ridiculous. If I went into her DMs and I was like, you're a, said some words that I'm not going to say on your show, then that's a terrible thing.
To say it. It gives money to charity.
Okay. Well, if I went into her DMs and I was like, hey, you're a bitch, I don't believe you, I think that's a problem. That's harassment. I don't think that that's okay. And that's something that should be, dealt with appropriately. However, I am never going to be the person to do that. And so I think that people need to stop pointing the finger at me and being like, you're a harasser. No, I'm just talking about a case of high public interest,
And we've actually stated a couple times already our opinions on the matter and how we feel about her, how it's going with her in the court. But how do you personally feel about the opinions that come out when you're saying, oh, I think she is a liar?
Mm-hmm. So obviously it's a complicated issue for understandable reasons when we're dealing with somebody who's making accusations of abuse and harassment, etc., because so many women are not believed. That it makes me feel honestly uncomfortable sometimes, because I think that there's going to be a lot of people who just see me passively or see my ugly face on page 6 and they're just like, oh my God, this person's a terrible person. How can she say this about this person who was harassed and whatever? So I feel like it's very tricky. But I think that what a lot of people don't understand is that I've done like some extensive reading of everything on the docket, like literally everything on the docket. And then I also took the time to speak to this man's, like coworkers and some of his, loved ones, even like people that have known him and who believe that he's a good person. He hasn't done what he's done. And so I don't know, I guess answering that question is hard. But it brings about a bigger issue of like, what do you do when somebody's making accusations like this, which are very heavy, and you need to treat people who have actually been through this like with respect and handle it appropriately. But when somebody's shown to not be entirely honest, and firsthand that the person who's being accused doesn't seem to have done what they're being accused of, what do you do? How do you handle that? So I feel like it's a much bigger problem that needs to be kind of thought about in these cases.
Well,
question. I agree. I agree with that. I will say, I think one unintended consequence is people are now looking at her first accusation towards the man on Gossip Girl, towards a makeup artist, and reevaluating it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the unintended consequence is when you become the boy that cried wolf. If everyone believed what had happened to her on Gossip Girl, and people are now looking back at it going, did it really happen?
Right.
I, by the way, do believe that did on Gossip Girl. Do not with the Baldoni thing, to be clear. Right. But you really create a problem. It's the same situation with Amber Heard. You create a problem where people don't believe you.
Pretty much. Yeah. I do want to say though, Lauren, thank you so much for what you do say. Thank you for sticking to what you're.
Thank you for sticking your neck out.
Yeah, thank you for putting yourself on the front line of this whole situation. Because it's bigger than just this. It really is though bigger than just the celebrity beef that we're seeing in the public eye. It's really a stance of how do we take someone at their word if they're showing us that they're not able to stick to one story, if they don't have the proper evidence. At what point do we say, nope, this is made up and this is real when it comes to things like abuse allegations or assault? And I think it's important with people like her talking about.
I think it's even more than that. If people like yourself are silenced, if there is no public commentary and there is no public discourse, we are in a terrible place. America's my home by choice. I choose to be here. And one of the things I love is free speech.
Absolutely.
It's one of the best things you guys have. So thank you. I know you are really, really suffering. And I know people are really up your ass, excuse my language there. If you need legal help or you need any help, we, of course, would be happy to provide that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that so much. And thank you for having me. It's been really good to get to know you guys. So,
well, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And thank you for sticking your neck out. Not a lot of people would. And a lot of people, her tactics did work and they have run away.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry you're going through this, and I really do hope it gets better.
Well, I think it's going to be okay. It might be a little hard for a bit, but it's going to be okay.
Now, for anyone that wants to follow you in a positive way, tell them where they can find you.
Oh, well, my handle on pretty much everything is this Lethal Lauren 904, which is just my Xbox gamer tag. So
Xbox, go Microsoft.
Perfect. Yeah. I like that. Guys, make sure you're following her. Show support. And if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks.
And guys, thank you for joining us. Let us know what you think about the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni situation. Do you believe Blake Lively? Do you believe Justin Baldoni? Do you think they're both just Hollywood weirdos? Whatever. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm the Baroness. We are on with my co-host, Bear Fiorda. This is Behind the Scenes. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
This has been Behind the Scenes with the Baroness and Bear Fiorda. Only on Talk 4 Media.